like if you found the video valuable. Eleanor Reed had always found beauty in the macabre. An archivist by profession and a collector by passion, her small apartment was filled with relics of forgotten times, music boxes that no longer played, daguerreotypes of nameless faces, and brittle letters written in spidery handwriting. Her fascination with the dead wasn't morbid, she would tell herself, but a form of reverence, a desire to give memory to the forgotten. It was a rainy Tuesday afternoon when she stumbled across the little shop. Nestled in a crumbling alley behind an abandoned movie theater, it had no sign, just a foggy display window filled with cracked dolls and old clocks. Something about it called to her. The bell jingled overhead as she stepped inside. The air was thick with the scent of dust and lavender. Shelves lined the walls, packed with ancient oddities, rusted surgical tools, carved fetishes, framed moths. At the back of the store stood a counter, and behind it, a man. He was tall and thin, with sallow skin stretched taut over high cheekbones. His hair was white and meticulously combed back. He wore a dark waistcoat that looked hand-stitched, and his eyes were the color of wet ash. "You have a curious heart," he said, as though they were mid-conversation. "I felt you coming." Eleanor blinked. "Sorry, have we met?" "Not yet," he replied, reaching beneath the counter. He pulled out a small wooden box, no larger than a jewelry case. Intricate symbols were carved into its surface, interlocking triangles and crescent moons. "It's meant for you," he said, pushing it toward her. "No charge." She hesitated. "Why?" "Because it has waited long enough." Despite every internal warning, Eleanor took the box. It was heavy in her hands, warm. The man simply nodded and turned away, vanishing into the back room. At home, she set the box on her coffee table and examined it. There was no latch, no seam. Just the carvings, which seemed to shimmer faintly when the light hit them. She turned it over and over, searching for a mechanism. Hours passed. Finally, her fingers slid over a groove near the bottom, and something clicked. The box opened with a hiss, releasing a puff of stale air. Inside, nestled in velvet, was a tiny silver key. That night, the dreams began. She stood in a room she had never seen before but felt instantly familiar. It was a Victorian sitting room, grand but aged, the wallpaper faded and peeling. Fire crackled in a hearth beneath a cracked mirror. And all around her stood porcelain figures, dozens of them, life-sized, perfectly detailed. They weren't mannequins, they were too lifelike, and they watched her. She woke in a sweat, the box now on her nightstand. The key was gone. The dreams persisted. Every night, the same room. The same figures. And each time, she stayed a little longer. They didn't move, not while she looked. But she could feel them shifting in her peripheral vision, as if rearranging themselves. On the seventh night, she saw her own reflection in the cracked mirror. But it didn't move as she did. It stood still, smiling faintly. She screamed herself awake. During the day, she began researching the symbols on the box. They belonged to a little-known occult sect from the 1800s called the Circle of the Final Gaze. Their obsession was immortality through memory. They believed that a person could be preserved, not in body, but in soul, through perfect representation. "Capture the essence," one journal wrote, "and you capture the spirit." The figures, they weren't statues. They were memories, imprisoned. She stopped sleeping. Coffee became her lifeblood, but the waking world started to blur. Mirrors distorted. Her own reflection sometimes turned its head when she didn't. And then, one morning, she noticed something new in her bathroom mirror. The faint outline of the Victorian room. Just behind her. She spun around. Nothing. On the 10th night, she didn't wake. She was there, standing in the collector's room. This time, the figures were closer. One had her mother's green eyes. Another wore the pendant her college roommate never took off. A third held the camera she'd gifted an ex-boyfriend. These were people she knew. Or had known. Her breath caught. And then she saw it. A new pedestal at the center of the room. Empty. Waiting. She turned to run, but the door was gone. The fire crackled louder. The figures shifted. And in the mirror, her reflection stepped forward, grinning. The next morning, Eleanor Reed's apartment was empty. Her books remained, her antiques untouched. But the wooden box was gone. At Curio & Sons, the man behind the counter smiled when the bell jingled again. A young man stepped in, rain dripping from his coat. "Just browsing," he said. "Of course," the owner said. "But when you're ready, I believe something has been waiting for you." He reached beneath the counter and pulled out a box. Its carvings shimmered in the low light. The end.